Tiffany Cloud. Welcome to The Storm, and thank you for watching today on WYLN TV 35. The race for governor of Pennsylvania is on, and today I'm pleased to be joined by a man here to make his case for your vote. After the break, Senator Scott Wagner, candidate for governor of Pennsylvania. Welcome back to The Storm. I am joined by Senator Scott Wagner, and he's looking to become governor of Pennsylvania. Thank you so much for coming on The Storm.
Tiffany, delighted to be here.
Well, happy to have you here in the Hazleton area. It's very snowy outside, and appreciate you coming in despite the bad weather.
It's very snowy. There's a lot of, it's cold. There's a lot of snow on the ground, and as we drove through town, a lot of Christmas lights up, a lot of Hazleton pride.
Yeah, so, a lot of Hazleton pride.
A lot
actually.
of Hazleton pride.
Yeah,
it's great to see this. It's another small town in America.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. Well, thank you for saying that. Your first time on The Storm, I really want my audience just to get to know you, the man, first before we get into politics. So if we could start by you telling me a bit about your background and where you grew up and what you did kind of coming on up.
Good. Well, I'll do that. Tiffany, I grew up on a farm in York, Pennsylvania, York County. I'm a high school graduate. I went to Williamsport Community College for a year, 1973, to be a diesel mechanic. Decided I didn't want to do that. And I went back to York and worked for a relative's construction company. And at age 19, I purchased a piece of land and started buying apartment buildings and got onto the entrepreneurial path. But I think most important, that I want people to know that I'm a regular guy. I grew up on a farm. It wasn't a working farm. My mother, who is 84 years old, gave horseback riding lessons for over 50 years. And we had a 25-acre farm, and we had a lot of horses, a lot of chores. And I worked on neighboring farms, and we baled hay over the summer. And I grew up in just a regular household. Mm-hmm. But I grew up in a household where I got paid $5 a week to shovel horse manure and water the horses in the evening and mow the lawn and do things around the farm. And then I would go next door and work at my relative's construction company. And I think at age 8 or 10, I discovered soda bottles and dump trucks, the old glass soda bottles, and you could get 2 cents a piece for those bottles. Uh-huh. So probably in a month or two, I'd have 100 of those. Well, that's $2 or $3, and I'd store them in one of the barns and would take them, to a local store nearby. And so why I tell you this is that I grew up on a farm, and I hated school. I hated high school. I would literally sit in class every day and watch the second hand go around until class was over, the bell would ring, and I couldn't wait to get home and work.
Because you wanted to work.
I wanted to work. I love doing that. And I'm gonna talk about that later, where I see some opportunities, and I think there may be some young people out there that feel today the way I felt back then. Okay. But I grew up on a farm, and then I started my entrepreneurial enterprises. And then in 1985, I started a waste company called York Waste Disposal. Started with 2 trucks. I was the driver, the loader, the mechanic, the office manager, the janitor. I cleaned the toilets. I did everything. It's what you do when you have a small business. We grew that business to a large business in 1997. I sold it, and for a 3-year period, I did some other things. And then in 2000, I started my current company called Penn Waste. And I also own a trucking company, dump truck and dump trailer. Company. You might see some of our dump trucks, KBS Inc. on I-80 or the Turnpike, if you get around Baltimore. And then I have an interest in another waste company in Lancaster County. So today I employ about 600 people.
Okay, that's a lot of people.
But I'm a blue collar guy. I mean, I still have a CDL license. I'm medically certified. I can drive a truck. My operations people don't want me in the truck.
I bet they don't.
But at the end of the day, so my businesses grew, and how did I end up in the state senate?
Yeah, that was going to be. Well, you just asked my next question.
So being in the waste business in 1985, when I started my first waste company, I could put the 5 pages of regulation in a manila folder, and it would close on a table. Today, that binder is 3.5 inches thick, and we've measured. There's about 100 regulations just to put, 140 or 150 waste trucks.
So stifling to business owners.
Correct. So, and then over the years, as I got involved in the political process, political activity, because our business was becoming highly regulated. So over the years, I became an ATM machine for a lot of politicians. They would come see me, typically every 2 years. Oh, can you help us? And I started keeping notes, and I had like a 10 or 12-year file. And well, guys, when you were here to see me 2 years ago, we talked about this, this, and this. Well, we can't get the votes, and you know what? They couldn't get it done. But foolish Scott Wagner, I just kept writing checks. So I was an ATM machine. I watched the regulation, and I just got tired of what was going on. So
you decided to run.
I decided to run.
Okay.
And so the senator that represented the 28th district of York County announced in August of 2013 he was not going to run again. So he would have finished the 4 months of 2013 and all of 2014. Mm-hmm. So I ramped up my campaign, and we were really serious about, from September to December, TV ads, mailers, lots of meetings. I mean, I was on a mission. And so, the second Monday of January, the senator resigned his position, and the lieutenant governor that same day came out and announced a special election date that was set. And they basically tried to block me from running. And I'm a lifelong Republican. I've been supportive of the local Republican Party. They picked a House member. And so, after 30 days of strategizing, I did some research on a write-in campaign, and so this happened on January 13th. On February 20th of 2014, we came out of the underground and we announced we were running a write-in campaign, and we were locked and loaded and ready to go. March 18th, 11,400 people came out on a special day and wrote in my name.
Amazing.
The Democrat on the ballot and the House member that was on the ballot got 11,400 together. Let me back up. I got 11,000, they got 11,400. So I got almost as many as the two combined. So I was sworn into the Senate in 2014, and I knew Harrisburg was going to be bad, but I had no idea
until you
just
were
how it's dysfunctional, and it's not working for the people of Pennsylvania. It's almost like put king syrup. King syrup's slow. Put king syrup in the freezer, and it doesn't move at all.
Well, and sometimes it's because of lack of leadership at the top, isn't it?
Correct. Well, it's leadership, and I think it's, there are a lot of people there that I think went years ago. They went there with good intentions. I'm going to go, I'm going to make a difference. They got there. In many instances, it's the best job they've ever had, the best job they're ever going to have. They got great benefits. They have, a pension, the whole 9 yards. And then they became coddled and welcomed and hugged by the lobbying community.
They became the swamp.
They became the swamp. And so, if you look back in 2015, there was $500 million spent on lobbying just in Harrisburg. And we have 203 House members and 50 senators. So that's $2 million per legislator. And I don't see that, but I could literally, Tiffany, and this is not, I don't do this, I never did it in business. I could literally look for a lobbyist every single day that in the Capitol. 7 days a week, I could call a lobbyist, go out for dinner, have drinks, have a great steak, have a bottle of wine, have after dinner drinks. That's a bad culture.
And it is a bad culture.
And we have House and Senate members that travel long distances, and they travel 3-4 hours from their home. They end up staying in Harrisburg, for 3, 4, 5 nights, and it's just a bad culture. So, I've been in Harrisburg for almost 4 years.
Okay, and on the next segment, we are going to talk about why, after being in Harrisburg for 4 years, you've decided you're going to run for governor of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. But we have to take a break. We will be right back on The Storm. Welcome back to The Storm. I'm joined today by Senator Scott Wagner. He is running for governor of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Senator Wagner, in the last segment, you told us a bit about your background. I really, in this segment, want to talk about why you're running for governor of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. What was it? Was there a moment that made you make the decision, or was it just sort of everything you were seeing in Harrisburg?
Well, Tiffany, that's a great question. I arrived in Harrisburg on April of 2014. Governor Corbett was in office. I think a lot of us were surprised. I helped Governor Corbett as much as I could with his reelection. It didn't work out. Governor Wolf was elected. And I think a lot of us were looking to a second term of Corbett. And actually I was, because I think my outside experience and knowing the governor, and I had started building relationships inside the Senate, and I had a lot of relationships in the House. I think we could have been we really could have accomplished a lot with a second term of Governor Corbett.
Yes.
But then Tom Wolf comes along, and Tom Wolf campaigned on basically lying to the people of Pennsylvania about $1 billion that allegedly was cut by Governor Corbett. And that is an outright lie.
Money, right.
It is an outright lie, and he lied to the people of Pennsylvania. It was federal stimulus money.
Correct.
I've seen the numbers, and I saw the numbers basically from 2010 the whole way up until this year. The whole time of the Corbett administration, Governor Corbett increased education funding.
Correct.
But the $1 billion came in. It was federal. It was a one-time thing.
One-time stimulus
Correct.
money from Obama. Yes.
Everybody was told, don't hire teachers, don't do this. But the bottom line is, listen, that's history. But the bottom line is $1 billion came into the state of Pennsylvania. We don't have a single thing to show for it. Just think if the $1 billion had come into like roads and bridges and infrastructure, we'd have a road and bridge to show for it. We have nothing. So, Governor Wolf ran around the state, misrepresented, and then he also sat in classrooms. And I want to talk a little bit about the severance tax that he's trying to push through. He sat in classrooms and he talked about, hey kids, there's a resource under the ground that we should be able to tax. Well, with Governor Wolf, he has never, ever, ever mentioned the impact fee that's in place.
Right, so he wants a severance tax plus an impact
so
fee.
this governor is he's either out to lunch or completely misinformed. But he now wants an impact fee. There was an impact fee. It was Act 13 of 2012, and it's an impact fee that is based on it's per well, and there's a certain amount of money that comes in, and it's about since 2012, it's about $1.2 billion that's come into that fund through the impact fee. And for example, the counties that have the largest amount of drilling, like if you go to Bradford, Pike, Lycoming, Washington County, the counties that have the drilling that are impacted get a large portion of that money for roads, bridges, and infrastructure because of the impact of the drilling. But there are areas that don't have any drilling: Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, York County, where I live, no drilling, but they get money. And in that, there is some language in the impact fee that was passed, Act 13 of 2012, that said in the event a severance tax is ever passed, the impact fee will sunset, which means it will go away. Well, the governor's working behind the scenes to now pass a severance tax and repeal that language that is in the impact fee of Act 13 of 2012. So it's going to be a double tax. There's no other state, and I need to really be crystal clear, there is no other state in the United States of America that has an impact fee. They have severance taxes. At the end of the day, why don't we call it what it is? It is a severance tax, okay? But this governor, again, is out lying, misrepresenting, and I don't work for the big oil companies. But you know what? It's an industry that has done a lot for this state, and you don't change the deal that you made. It's like, Tiffany, if you and I shook hands, we had a business deal, I shake your hand, we look in each other's eyes, we have a deal. That's what the gas industry did with Governor Corbett and the legislature. Governor Corbett's gone, new governor, the whole 9 yards, deal's off. It's wrong.
So is it in terms of getting back to the why you want to run for governor, is it just seeing the lies and seeing the dysfunction? Is that what made you say that's it?
Well, I moved off on Governor Wolf, and this guy is so unqualified. But when I got to Harrisburg, it is 5 times worse than I expected. Pennsylvania, Tiffany, is bankrupt. We are bankrupt. We need to look in the mirror and say we're bankrupt and we need to do something about it. Pennsylvania is a patient laying on the operating room table, bleeding to death. We don't have a lot of blood left. And Governor Wolf's, his method of getting more blood is to take blood out of taxpayers and take it out of their wallets. And so I look at all the mismanagement, I look at the waste, fraud, and abuse in Harrisburg, and listen, let me be loud and clear here on this, and I want people to hear me loud and clear. We do not have a revenue problem. Money flows in Harrisburg at a breathtaking rate. We have a spending and mismanagement problem. We wasted $1 billion on a statewide radio system. Nothing to show for it. We just authorized again, and I was a no vote, another $115 million to labor and industry for the unemployment call center infrastructure upgrade. At the end of this 4-year period, we're now at $500 million. I guarantee you labor and industry is going to be back They're going to want more money. There's no accountability. I made a decision. Listen, we have lots of problems. Everywhere I go, especially up in this area in the Northeast, school taxes. I've lost my hearing in my right ear because everybody's over here saying, you got to do something about our school taxes.
That's a big issue here
School
in the greater
taxes,
Hazleton area.
pensions. The pension problem is driving the school tax problem. We have a skilled labor crisis in Pennsylvania. People are running around. This governor's running around. We need to create more jobs. No. There are at least 200,000 skilled labor positions open in Pennsylvania. We need to find the people to fill those positions. I mean, my company in York, Penn Waste, has been advertising almost all year with 6 to 8 billboards all over Interstate 83 and Route 30. Penn Waste, we're hiring drivers and mechanics. So this gets back to the education system.
Right. And I want to talk to you more about education, but first I just want to ask, so what do we do to stop the bleeding? If you were governor, what would you most immediately do to stop the bleeding of the patient that is bleeding out on the table?
We go to zero-based budgeting.
Okay.
It's real simple. We go into every agency, and as the governor, it would be my job to recruit and hire agency secretaries.
And for the people out there that don't understand that, usually what happens is every year, let's say you spent $10 million last year on a program, that means that this year they always start with $10 million on a program. When you go to zero-based budgeting, you start at zero. Each year, brand new year, you don't just assume you're going to use what you used the prior year, correct?
Correct.
So you're starting at zero.
Listen, the bottom line is, Tiffany, this is 80% of America, and I guarantee you 80% of the households here in Hazleton are doing zero-based budgeting at their kitchen table. You know, they're sitting down, and whether it's it's a husband and wife or a single mother or single father, they're sitting down and they're saying, well, what are our paychecks? How many paychecks are we going to get this month? And every fourth month you get a fifth paycheck because there's 52 weeks. But they're sitting down, they're looking what their income is that comes in that month, and how much is our electric, how much is our gas, what's our mortgage payment. That's zero-based budgeting.
Okay.
Why are we not doing this in Harrisburg? Because
Okay.
nobody has the courage and the backbone to do it.
That said, I'm going to go to another break. We will be right back on The Storm. Welcome back to The Storm. So, Senator Wagner, I want to spend this last portion of the show really talking to you about not the problems of Pennsylvania, because that could be like a 10-part series. Let's talk about some solutions. What are the 3 things that you would really do to try to improve the state of affairs in the Commonwealth?
Number 1, Tiffany, we're going to go to zero-based budgeting. We're going to get control of our spending, and it can be done. And I know exactly how to do it. Number 2, everywhere I go, I hear about real estate taxes. I get the message is loud and clear. People of Pennsylvania want their real estate taxes, on their school taxes, eliminated. Now, when it gets to the municipal tax, your county tax, I'm not going to be able to deal with that. But the school tax on your home, your single-family home where you live, I've heard the mission loud and clear. That will be one of my top 3 priorities, to eliminate the school taxes on real estate. Number 2, we have to re-engineer the schools. We have to start talking about students going into the trades. And if we re-engineer and retool and reinvent our school system, we're going to be able to start producing students that will go into the trades. There's a breathtaking dropout rate in Pennsylvania. If you go to Allentown, the Allentown School District is 30 to 35%. I don't know what it is up here. In Philadelphia, Erie, Harrisburg, large dropout rate. That's why I tell you that my experience of growing up on a farm, I hated school. There are kids today they hate school. And we can't let them fail. We have to get into the schools, whether it's first, second, third grade, start talking about what they want to do in the future. Just start that conversation. We can't wait until they're ready to drop out, or we can't wait until they're juniors or seniors. And I think if we work on the school retooling and reinvention, it's going to help us with the skilled labor crisis. There's nothing wrong with being a plumber. I know plumbers that do very well. Electricians.
There's always work.
But I think, Tiffany, I could sit here and I could just talk about all the problems. You're right. We could have a series that's off the charts for 10 weeks. The bottom line is these problems are solvable, and I have the skills to do it, and I want to do it. And as I go around Pennsylvania, I will tell you right now that if Governor Wolf is reelected, and you invite me back next year, and invite me back every year, Governor Wolf is going to need between $2.5 and $3 billion a year of additional tax revenue from people out of Hazleton, Harrisburg, Erie, Lancaster, all over the state of Pennsylvania. That's going to equal probably $750 per household a year for the next 4 years if Governor Wolf would get reelected. That's $750. 750 times 2 is $1,500. 750 times 4 is $3,000. That is not going to include the school taxes on real estate. The people up here in the Northeast, as I go to Old Forge, Pittston, West Pittston, Hazleton, Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, listen, people can't afford more taxes. Listen, please pay attention to my campaign. You know, it's wagnerforgovernor.com and wagnerforgov.com, and you'll probably run something, you know, on the screen. At the end of the day, I have a 40-year business background. I don't need the job and I don't need the money. Why I'm doing this is because what's going on in Harrisburg is wrong and it needs to be fixed. There are a lot of people that are just coming out of the woodwork saying, we want to help you. And we have House and Senate members that they are starving for a governor who has leadership. We have about 72,000 state employees. Though I can tell you 70 to 80% of those people are starving for someone who cares about them, someone who asks, you know, so what are the problems in your department? If you were going to spend money on a new computer system, what would you consider buying? That's what leaders do. Right. Our governor is a failed governor, and it's an opportunity to get rid of Tom Wolf and turn the ship of Pennsylvania in a right direction. We can do a lot better. I want to be the guy leading the charge.
Well, I appreciate you coming to the Hazleton area. Thank you. I wish you the best of luck in the primary. And to learn more about him, you know, check out Scott Wagner for governor. And when you look around and you don't like what you see, don't complain about it. You can do something about it. You can vote. And I thank you for watching.